So how do we stay positive in a world that's full of so much negativity? This is something that I struggle with, as does everyone. Everywhere you look, it seems we're being bombarded with the worst possible news of the worst possible situations that are going on our planet, and you don't see very much of the uplifting and the positive and the hopeful stories, which there have to be. Everything can't be negative. There has to be some positivity, and there is. But I truly believe that the people who are in charge of the media and whatnot, in politics, etc., are being manipulated by something greater, something sinister. And I believe that the predominant force or forces or energy beings that are manipulating them feed on energy. And they evidently feed on very strong adrenaline type energy, such as fear and anxiety and pain. So it's in their best interest to keep us fearful and anxious and in pain. And I believe that this is why 2/3 of the world is still starving to death in poverty. And those of us in the other 1/3 of the world are completely unaware, it seems, of that 2/3 of the unindustrialized nations, places in Africa and Ethiopia and Brazil and islands that we've never heard of, where there's no adequate shelter or sanitation or even a good source of water. Places where things don't grow and they don't have any food. Everything has to be shipped in from countries like ours. And I have to say that, looking at what's going on the planet right now with the other 1/3 of the world, it would seem that we're being told we're about to join them. We're being told that if we don't revolt and rise up, and we're being told, but through media clues, of course, that we are going to end up like that other 2/3 of the world. And so now we're rioting and we're fighting for various reasons. Most of the reasons aren't even the true reasons that we should be fighting, but we're fighting and revolting and protesting nonetheless. And it's all just a bunch of negativity and anger and fear and hate being televised through the mass media outlets to us, even through the alternative media outlets to us. We're just seeing negative upon negative upon negative. I have to really struggle each day. I don't watch TV, and I have to struggle when I go online because I want to find out what's going on in the world. But what I ultimately end up finding out is that the world is a shithole. That's what I find out through the media, even the alternative media. And then I become part of that shithole when I start to become worried and anxious and afraid. And that's not to say that we shouldn't be warning each other of what is real and going on around us in the world, because we should. We shouldn't just close our eyes to it and pretend it doesn't exist. But when we get our emotions involved in it, and it's impossible not to, I I have an absolute inability to shut off my empathetic response. And so whatever people are feeling around me, I feel it. Sometimes stronger than they do. And it's, to me, been a real detriment in my life because I am constantly feeling the emotions of other people too strongly. And I'm feeling, if there's a predominance of negativity going on in the world around me and in my life personally, I will feel that and end up going to bed at night feeling as though all I can do is go to sleep to shut it off, because I just spent the entire day feeling a predominance of negative emotions that don't even seem to be my own. So the question is, what do we do about that? How do we care about others and care about what's going on in the world around us without letting it emotionally take over our lives and ultimately touch our subconscious and cause perhaps more negativity to be drawn into our lives, in our consciousness? That's a great question, because I've known people who practice and follow the law of attraction, and I've noticed they seem to be very happy people, they seem to be very successful people, but they seem to be very unempathetic and very unsympathetic to the world around them, and even the people around them who are going through trouble. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I would look at that and think it's a very bad thing. But if you would ask one of these people, they would say it's a very good thing, and they would tell you that their lives are better because they ignore the ugliness in the world. And so maybe they have a point in a certain way, although I don't think I'll ever be able to reach that point myself. But maybe they have a point, maybe in not allowing themselves to be a human battery energy source any longer for these dark overlords that I believe are holding predominance, not just over the elite, but over all of us. Because if they're holding predominance over the elite, and the elite are the ones who run the media and the politics and the educational systems and the religions, and the elite are the ones who are making the laws for us and setting everything for us to follow and telling us what to believe, think, and feel through our television shows and movies and books, then it would seem that whatever dark overlords they're paying their allegiance to, it's like they're paying sacrifice to these beings, and the sacrifice seems to be us. The sacrifice seems to be our negative emotions. It seems to be our lives when we die in fear and pain and in shock over something horrible happening in the world. If we're a part of some horrible event, whether it's a bombing or poverty, dying of starvation, cancer, an accident, what have you, it just seems that a lifetime filled with negative emotion in a state of high adrenaline, going out in such a sorrowful or horrorful way, would have to be feeding these entities. And that's what I think is happening. So what do we do? I think we could learn a lot from some of the very sources that we look at and think we gotta stay away from those sources because they're talking about sorcery kind of things. I think we could learn a lot from people like Manly P. Hall, who a lot of you, if you're religious, will think he's evil or an occultist and stay away from him. I think we could learn a lot from people like Freeman, of the Freeman perspective, who has a kind of first-hand perspective through his family connections to the Freemasons, but also through his own instinct. I think we could learn a lot through people like Michael Sarian, who he seems to have a pretty good understanding and perspective on human nature, and he actually doesn't push away the negative, as do the people who follow the law of attraction exclusively, but kind of accepts it as part of his psyche, as something to be worked through. And for the people who do follow the law of attraction, I would remind you that that is not the only universal law. There are others, and the elites know this very, very well. Not only do they practice these laws, but they find ways to use them against us by finding loopholes in the laws that would circumvent our own free will and get around our conscious mind and go straight into our subconscious, which is the seat of emotion, which is the seat of belief, and which is the seat of true creation as to what we're going to create in our own lives, to whatever ability we have as human beings to do that. I want to end this video by just bringing to your attention something I've noticed. When someone runs for office, especially in the United States, have you ever noticed that within the first year of them becoming president, they seem to age by 10 years, 15 years? I think there's a real reason for that. First of all, if you look at the politicians, even though you know that they're all on the same side, they seem to be really stressed out individuals. I mean, if they're following these laws and if they're thinking positively all the time, why are they aging so quickly and why do they seem so stressed? I think it's because they have been giving themselves for so long as human batteries to these dark overlords that they're being drained of their vital essence. And also I think that when you are groomed for presidency, and a lot of times you're groomed from a very young age, you're taught certain things, but there are certain things that are left unsaid. And then once you get in office, they tell you. And whatever it is they tell you is so shocking and so disturbing and so almost unacceptable that you age overnight. And that's what I think happened to, all our presidents that I can remember since I was a kid, seeing that after their first year in office. They just seem to be drained of their life force. There could be other reasons for that as well. But I kind of think it has something to do with learning a real shocking truth, or whatever it is they're told that the truth is, depending on whether or not they're being told the truth about what that truth is. But I guess I'll just leave it off at that. Something to think about. How do we stay positive in the midst of all this? And if you're an empath, how do you shut off some of that energy that's coming from people around you so that you don't end up taking it on and kind of being the sin eater to all the people that you know and come across in your life?